Okay, so hello, this is another Working Minds video interview, and today we're very lucky to have Maddy here. She's from Moving Brands, and she's the Global People and Development Manager. Very
Hi.
welcome.
Thank you.
It's great to have you here, Maddy.
I'm going to be here.
I want to jump straight into it.
Cool.
And very simple, basic. First question is, why support wellbeing at work?
Wow. I don't know where to start. I was thinking about this earlier, and I think that, we spend so much time at work. Work is such a huge part of our lives now. I think that we've become, it's more and more that work is something that defines you as a person as well as your life outside of work. And I think that if you're spending that much time focused on one thing in one place, working with the same people, I think it's so important that we have well-being at work. We are aware of how important that is. And I think that the more you focus on that, we've all heard it, the happier the team, the kind of better work you get, the more productivity you have. But I also think for us in the creative industry, the most important thing is the creativity and the inspiration is kind of so much more when people are happy and they're content and they feel challenged, they feel supported. So it's the kind of melting pot of everything. And I think it's absolutely paramount that we look after our team. We have a duty of care to make sure our team and all of our employees are happy and they're also they're supported and they're looked after. So I think it's number one after, I think it's actually number one alongside being paid a salary that you should be paid, having time off, all of those things that you have to have. I think wellbeing goes alongside that.
Amazing. What I'm hearing you say is sort of several aspects, and that's obviously, we spend so much time at work that if we spend 8+ hours a day being miserable, it's just not going to work at some point. It's not going to be sustainable.
Totally.
But also what I really heard from you saying is creating an environment that fosters creativity, especially in your industry. Because I'm not from a creative industry, but I would assume, and correct me, and it'd be great if you can talk a little bit more about it, that if you're really stressed, or if you're under a lot of pressure, you possibly face that in your work, but if there's too much stress and if there's too much of that negative impact, then that ultimately doesn't allow you that clarity or that space to be creative and to create and to do your best work.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's, you're, especially within creative, you're working collaboratively with others, you're working in teams, you're not able, I suppose, to sit and kind of just focus on stuff on your own, heads down. It's very open, it's very collaborative. And I think that if you're feeling a lot of pressure, or you're not feeling supported, or you're feeling really stressed, then then having to put yourself into a position where you're having to work with everybody else is even more stressful, even more like nerve-wracking. So I think we've definitely found that the most creative work often comes in those moments of stress where you are trying to find solutions and you're kind of, but it's when everybody's committed and working towards the same goal. And I think that comes from having a team that are all aligned, everybody's kind of got each other's back, you're supported, and you're not in a place where you're feeling kind of negative about what you're doing, you're not stressed about what you're doing. It's that kind of shared stress that is kind of exciting. And that's very different to feeling a different type of stress on an individual level. But creativity absolutely needs, you need a lot of different points of view. So you can have more negative points of view, you can have more positive points of view. But I think having the team feeling comfortable and safe to be able to face that together is hugely valuable and important.
And so probably what would be interesting for the people watching this video is because you spoke a little bit around the team and that the working in collaboration, working with others, and speaking to other companies, and in my experience quite often working with others can be the source of stress and
Sure.
problems. And so how do you create an environment where, you know, people can really work together, and you said having that collective stress can help to create really good results rather than that individual stress that it's all on me and can I do this?
Yeah, we try. I mean, we are a very open company anyway. Across all of our locations, we spend a lot of time working together on Google Hangouts or video meetings. We're quite a communicative company, and that comes from our leadership team. We're very open about how transparent we are about everything. We want people to voice concerns or raise things. We also ensure that, and we try to make sure this happens with every single project. As soon as a project starts, we do a team canvas where essentially the team come together and discuss their aims as a team for the project. They also maybe discuss their personal aims. They set kind of rules and behaviours that they want to all adhere to. So if one of them is, you know, no meetings past 6 p.m. and then suddenly everyone starts putting those in, everybody has the remit to say, actually, hey guys, that's not what we agreed to. That's not how we agreed to work. So things like that we've started to introduce to make sure that everybody feels super comfortable to be able to flag those things. We also I have a very open, not that I have a door, but an open door policy. So as soon as there are any kind of issues or people are struggling with things, kind of I can support and facilitate conversations. And often, I mean, we're about 60 people globally, so we're not massive, and everybody does tend to know everybody. So often it will be a case of this situation has kind of created, you know, stress and discomfort and unhappiness. Let's face into it, and let's, you know, all put your cards on the table. Let's all discuss it, and let's find a solution to move forward. And that tends to work for us. That tends to be, you know, a really great way to, you know, alleviate things. And then there will be times when people are, you know, have things outside of work that they, you know, as much as we all try to leave that stuff at the door, we bring all of ourselves to work, and we bring everything to work. And I think it's, again, that not everybody's going to be super open to being kind of talking about those things that they might be going through, but it's making sure that that everybody kind of has somebody that they can lean on. And I think it's about, you know, building and forming relationships with people. So again, I, for one, make sure I spend a lot of time getting to know people. I'm a very open person. Everybody knows if I've got stuff going on in my life outside of work, I'm very vocal. And but I also understand that not everybody wants to be, but we kind of try to make sure that everyone knows that it's okay if you've had a massive argument with your partner and you're feeling really upset and you're really down, and it's okay. Like, we're not going to expect you to kind of be on finest form, and you also don't have to tell us what that reason is. We know that everybody has different things going on, and like everything, you know, all of that stuff's okay.
I really like that. I mean, one of my questions was going to be about how you approach to support people without sort of running the risk of invading their privacy. And it's really refreshing to hear that actually that openness is there, and that importance on building relationships and connections.
Sure.
So people have someone to lean on if they want to.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think it's often, you know, we all have line managers, which is great. And I think that lots of people at moving brands are super close to their line managers, which is awesome. But then there'll be people that you feel more comfortable discussing different things with. So for me, if it's not discussing things with me, and maybe there's a situation happening and somebody's in a really bad place or really unhappy or really sad or just going through a lot, if the person that they speak to regularly feels that it's a concern and they need to raise it further, then then they can come to me. And for me, it's about being like, is this, you know, what's the kind of welfare of this person, you know, or the employee? Like, is there something we should be really concerned about, or do we need to sit down and say, actually, you need to take some time out, and we're really concerned about you. You need to, you know, go and take a break and take some time out, or is it just a bit of a conversation about how can we support you, like what's going on, what needs to change? You're clearly, you know, struggling here, and that's okay, so what can we do to change things? So a very kind of friendly and relaxed approach to kind of well-being within HR, for sure.
Mm-hmm. And you said something there, and you said that earlier, I was going to pick up on that, where you said it's really around, you know, a conversation with with people and finding out what they need and what would be helpful to them. And you initially mentioned when you start a project, you get together and everyone talks about their aims for the project, their personal aims. So that to me is it's sort of people-led, solution-led, looking at, well, what is it that we want to create, and what is it that we need that comes from the individuals, rather than, well, we're going to tell you that you should meditate and you should eat this kind of food because that's taking care of your well-being.
Totally.
And it's that individuality, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And we've done, I for one have read loads of articles, blogs, posts about all these things that you should do. And I think there's no one thing that fits every company. And I think you have to find what's right. We've definitely found that, kind of creating some suggestions and almost getting the team to pick the things that they think would be most suitable. We also found that, each of our locations are a little bit different in terms of what they want to do, and that's okay. So we've recently been doing kind of a huge company feedback form where we kind of got feedback across, how individuals are doing, how the business is doing, what we can improve on. And from there, we've kind of listened, heard, and looked at what we can do to kind of, make changes to kind of really drive some of these things forward. But totally, it's about listening to the team. Like you said, we could all be like, right, we're all going to go and meditate now, like every day. And if people aren't keen to do that, or that's not their thing, or they don't feel comfortable doing that, then you don't want to force people to do stuff they don't want to do. It's about kind of actually, how can we make this the best possible company for you guys to work at, and how can we make you guys have the best time when you're here? So how do we do that?
And you mentioned, and I'm just curious, and there may not be a straightforward answer to this, but you mentioned that you asked, your people, what would be most helpful for them? What do they want? Was there something that came up a lot that was the same? Like, was there like a theme, or were there like a few things that you'd say that sort of came up a lot?
Yeah, there were lots of themes, and the feedback that we did was kind of an overall company feedback, so it was pretty detailed. The things around wellness, we started doing these things called breakouts, where twice a quarter the team can go and take time out the studio and kind of do something together, do something on their own. They can go to a gallery, they can go to a park. As long as it's probably not going to a pub, we're fine with that. But something to get them out, to get them kind of, inspired, going to do different things. We've done some fun stuff, like we went bowling, we went and played like mini golf and things like that. The team in San Francisco went on a boat ride around the bay. So we've kind of allowed some time where it's, it's time to just take a time out. So there's things like that which have been super, super popular, and it's some of those smaller gestures which are really great. Again, one of the things for us in the company feedback was around making sure that the team aren't always working late, and how do we make sure that we harness the most time that we have for the crossover of time zone with San Francisco team, but we also don't expect the team in San Francisco to work early or the team in London to work late all the time. So there's things around kind of ways of working that we're looking at, different behaviours, and a lot of that comes back to the team canvas at the beginning of projects, to allow the team to kind of set their own structures and set their own rules and rituals that they want going forward.
Amazing. So where would you say the corporate responsibility starts around the well-being side, and where does it end? Like, where's that, that's now on you, sort of thing.
Yeah, interesting. And again, this is one that I find really difficult, and I think lots of people find difficult to answer. I think the responsibility starts from as soon as somebody joins your company, as soon as actually, in a way, I think it starts a little bit before that. If you're interviewing people and you're going through that process, which is an incredibly stressful process, I think some of that responsibility in setting the tone starts from there. If you have super stressful interviews, you're going to see that company in that same light. So I think a lot of that experience, it starts there. And then, obviously once someone starts, there is a responsibility to make sure that employee is supported, looked after, and that they have good well-being. Where it ends, I think it's very difficult. I think that it is it's important that every single company does what is required of them legally, for sure. But I also then think that there is so much more that you can do. And I think that, we're a very... I think we don't stop at kind of just like, okay, cool, take some time off work. Like, we want to make sure they're okay. Can we get support to get them to go and speak to somebody? Is that something that they need? Do we need to look at their role? How can we change things? Is it around finances? What can we do to support in those situations? How can we help? We really want to make sure that our team are the happiest, the most successful, and the most creative. So for us, the responsibility it goes quite far, and I think that it's really important to make sure that you don't go too far. Like, we can't pay for people's rent or whatever, but if there's stuff that we can do, if people are really struggling in areas or need time out, then don't make them take unpaid time. Like, just give them that time. Don't make them then stress about not having as much money. Like, just let them focus on getting themselves to a better place for whatever reason. So for us, it's a lot more done on kind of, feel and kind of, making sure that we can support everybody in the right way.
So again, it sounds like it's very individual, depending on what that person needs. There isn't this is our policy, this is what we offer, and if you fall outside of this framework, well,
For sure, yeah. And we have to have policies, and we have all of our policies in place. And I think then that's where those relationships really come in. So if there's a situation where somebody's, had a bereavement, then, for somebody to be like, oh, I've only got 3 days, it's like, God, like, if you need more time than that, then like, of course, like, we need to be able to support the team. So I think that's where communication comes in, building those relationships with people so that they feel that they can ask and just be like, hey, actually, I need a week off. I'm really not in a good place. That's okay. Or situations where people, might be like, actually, I don't even know how to find a therapist. Like, where do I even start? How can you guys help me find that? That's something I feel I need. Then of course we can do those things. So again, I'm very vocal about all of these things, and I'm very much like, waving the flag for, let's talk about these things. I don't want anybody to suffer in the team and feel like they can't talk. So I think it's about kind of obviously having policies, but, if somebody needs more and that's going to, be the best thing for them, then we should look at those for sure.
So, because I love what you guys do. So, but I know not everyone is perhaps seeing it that way, and it's not necessarily about telling other companies this is how you should do it, but perhaps looking at it, seeing other angles of it, and perhaps other companies or other people would look at this and would say, well, where do you draw the line? How do you ensure that your people are not taking the mickey and just oh yeah, I need another week, oh yeah, well, oh man, I could go away, oh well, I need another day, or how do you ensure that there is
I think it's based on trust, massively, and we trust our team to work hard, and we trust that they're all committed and working towards the same goal and the same values that we are as a company, that everybody's kind of on the same journey, we're all on the same page, and of course, if there seems to be somebody or people who are like, oh, every Friday and Monday they happen to be sick, it's like, come on, like, we put that trust in you to not do that. Again, it's much. And I can imagine people listening to this and be like, yeah, but we're a company of 200 people. And I don't know how it could work for bigger companies, but we're 60 people. We have, very good relationships in the studio. So I think it's all about building that trust. It's like, we will totally trust you guys to leave at 5:30 if you want, if you've done all your work. If you've done all your work, great, like, cool. We're not going to make you sit there until 6 o'clock. Or if you've worked late, you come in later the next day. Like, we have that trust that you know what you need to get done and you're delivering the work to the standard of excellence that we expect. If you're not, then we're going to talk to you. But of course, we want to make sure, and I think that means people feel very committed. feel supported and don't want to take the piss, because they're, you know, they see the support and the freedom that we give back to people.
That when people are accountable for their work, they also see the positive impact it has on them, because they're achieving, they're engaged, they're moving forwards, and that's what keeps us going, right? We're not, as a species, we don't stand still, otherwise we'd still be living in caves, right?
Absolutely, yeah, for sure. And it's definitely about, you know, driving the team to also understand that, you know, we're giving that freedom and we're giving you that autonomy, and we in turn expect you to not take the piss. Otherwise, we will have to change the way we work. Nobody wants to do that. So, you know, don't be that person that makes us have to change everything. So I think there's a bit of that as well, where people are like, no, this is cool. I can go for, you know, go and do my thing, and I've got space. And I think it's that's kind of driven from leadership as well. The leadership team are very open about that, you know, there is that flexibility, and we want people to kind of have that. So, yeah. Don't be that person that makes it all tumble down.
Yeah. So would you say, this is sort of a bit what I've heard, but would you say that the way we work nowadays, it is changing in the sense, or already has changed, I guess, but you know, we don't do a 9 to 5 per se, and that's the working hours. Actually, work and life, they are more and more intermingling and becoming one, and that flexibility allows us to maintain a level of well-being, because it's not rigid.
For sure. I think that you know, there are obviously 9 to 6s, 9 to 5s, but I think more and more it does change, and it is, you know, everything is becoming more, you know, work and life are becoming more kind of, there's so much more crossover, and I think that to enable people to still be able to do things, you know, like our CEO always says, he's so happy that he can have breakfast with his kids in the morning and he comes in a bit later, but he works later, and that's his choice to do that. But that time to have that morning with his kids is so precious. And lots of other companies would be, would be like, no, sorry, that's 9 o'clock start. But we make sure that, you know, it's so important that you get that life balance. And when we expect, you know, we're high performing, we're super creative, the velocity is crazy, you also then need to allow people that time to do those things for their, you know, family and friends and loved ones, for sure.
You mentioned the word balance, and I'm curious in terms of how you use the word, because so from my point, I think, you know, looking back at how we've been looking at well-being over the years, the idea has for a long time has been to offset. So we have stress at work, and we've got pressures at work, and work is so much, and then we have to offset it with enough downtime and with enough quality time to keep that balance. But as our work is changing, and the way we work and the way we live is changing, perhaps that balance isn't possible, but there is perhaps you're pointing to a different balance there.
Yeah, and I think I always love that traditional sense of like work really hard and then have loads of downtime. And I think I wish that was true. I think it's also possible to have downtime and moments of escape in work as well. And I think it's allowing that flexibility and that balance in work. That yes, you know, high performing, high velocity, you know, maintaining that is a lot. But there also will be moments like we have our breakouts, like, you know, through summer we have summer Fridays where everyone can leave from 3 or 4 o'clock, allowing that extra time to just kind of have that downtime, or, you know, be able to go to a gallery or whatever it is. I think you can find balance in work. And I think it's also about remembering that if you have a day where you're not like running at 100 miles an hour, that's okay. That's okay. And you should enjoy those days, because then when it does pick up again, you know, it is going to get, you know, busy and be full on. So I think, you know, the moments when you can come in at 9 and leave at 6 or leave at 5:30, amazing. And then there'll be moments when you come in at 9 and you're like running all day. So I think you can find balance within your days and within your weeks as well.
Yeah. Would you say that you know, within that sort of high performance, velocity, all of that, there is the possibility to have that sense of equanimity or equilibrium within that?
Oh yeah, good question. I think so. Yeah, I think you can. I think it all comes back to kind of the ways of working, the kind of approach you take, that, you know, even when it is that busy, that, you know, I think it's about setting those things up in the right way so that it's busy and you're kind of high performing, but you're not, it doesn't feel like it's kind of a really bad and negative thing. So I think you, yeah, I think you can. Sorry, I'm like, I think you can.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you. I think it's absolutely possible, and I think, you know, from my perspective, that's perhaps where we can get quite a lot of a positive change in, because we can't change work, we can't change the speed things are developing and going, we can't hide from technology, we're not going to go back and live in caves. So perhaps it's more around, how do we do what we do in order to have a different experience of it, so that we can, you know, feel, as you were saying, you know, feel okay, don't feel it as a negative, but we feel it as a positive. We actually feel almost nourished by it rather than depleted.
Yeah, for sure. I think it is about looking at, you know, changes and how you can, when you're, if you have a process that doesn't work, change it. Like, if you have something that's making everyone feel really stressed, then address it. If there's something, you know, I think it's on employers to listen and hear, and like you said, we can't change the way things happen, we can't change the pace, we can't change the way the world is changing, but we can certainly make sure that if there's something we can change and change for the better, then we absolutely should. I always find it crazy when people talk about, you know, oh, this process is like the most painful thing I've ever done, and like, of course there's an easier solution, but like, we're never going to change it. It's like, what? Like, why not? Like, change it, just change it. And if it doesn't work, go back to the old one. I think and again, it's about being nimble as a company, and employers hearing, and leadership hearing those things that could change and could, you know, solve loads of problems. Let's try those things. You know, if the team want to do it, let's go for it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and that's fine. As long as it's not detrimental to the business. If it's an internal thing around ways of working, then you should totally be open to trying those things, because that could solve something that could, you know, really, really help a single person in the business from getting to a point of being in a really, really bad place. So I think it's definitely all about trying things. Yeah, if it doesn't work, just change it back, or change it again.
So what I'm picking up, and perhaps this is a nice way of rounding up, is that moving brands as a company, you really are looking to constantly improve, but also willing to give things a go, and maybe they go wrong, doesn't matter, we'll just change again and we'll give it another go.
Absolutely. We have a kind of motto that if you change 1% a week, which is tiny change, that's like 52% in a year. And that can make, you know, such a huge difference. Like, just small changes, and, you know, like, try something, fail fast and learn quickly. Like, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But, you know, I think it's about listening, hearing, and trying to make changes, trying to make things, continually make things better, and kind of, you know, more enjoyable and more exciting and more creative.
Amazing. It really resonates with me, because I think that's sort of who we are as human beings, that we have that resilience inbuilt in us to continuously grow and improve and get better and innovate and do things differently and try out and put ourselves out there. So that, I really love that. That's very cool. Cool. Thank you very much, Maddy. I could carry on, but I think we have to stop. So yes. If there are any questions from anyone, obviously they can put a comment and post, and I'll point it out to you. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Cool.
See you soon. Take care.
See you. Bye. Bye.